This is home cooking. This is what every South Asian people in the diaspora, they remember their parents making at home. It comes from the kitchens of many generations. It's not gourmet food.
I cook the food here the way I cooked for my kids when they were growing up. I use the best kind of ingredients, and that shows in the food and shows in the dishes, and that's why people like it.
My style of cooking is home cooking. I am very focused in food. We don't really cut the corner. We try our best to bring the flavor that you can eat the same way that you eat in Thailand.
What makes home home, right? And recreating that. I started out wanting to feed myself and take care of myself with dignity. And I guess when you put things out, you're inadvertently giving that to other people.
It wasn't started like, while I grew up, I want to be a chef, I want to open a restaurant. It wasn't like that at all. Growing up, I felt like as a girl in the family, so I have to help my family cook. My friends going out to play after school, but I have to stay in the kitchen, try to make a curry paste. I felt like I really hate cooking. Now I look back and I said, oh my gosh, I really, really appreciate how my mother taught me. I remember the first curry paste that I cooked by myself by learning. It's tom yum gung or tom yum paste. It turned out very good. And for that, I felt like, wow, this is like, you felt accomplished something. Growing up, like I always felt like entrepreneurial in me as a young age. So I start to sell my pad thai at a very young age. The school allow us to put the food on the table and sell during the recess after I done all the business plan of how I want my business to grow. In Pai, northern of Thailand, I want to continue learning, so I went to nursing school, go to work as a nurse almost 10 years. At the daytime at work, in the nighttime, I opened a restaurant. With the beginning of the curry shack, people love the food. Every time when a new customer come in and they order food, I just start to cook from scratch. And because of that, the food is very fresh and people love the flavor. And it just meant so much for me because I get to manage the kitchen the first time and then have more confidence in my cooking. I thought that I create something that I like to do, and then later on I give it to my brother to continue doing the business. Then we can generate some money to take care of the family.
So I was born in Cairo, grew up pretty much all my life in Cairo. I love to cook since I was 12 years old. I would usually go pick up some books from the school library and copy recipes and try to go do them at home. And my mom would not be very happy because, she's worried about me messing up the kitchen, me burning down the kitchen. But my dad was very supportive, and he would say, oh, just let her do whatever she can and whatever she wants. And then if I create something nice, they all love it. Just a recognition from your family, So this pushed me to do more and made me like it even more better and try to improvise and to create.
It started out of necessity. You get to be a certain age and you're like, how do I take care of myself and do it with dignity, you know what I mean? At the time, the accessibility to going back to school and my finances was like precarious, and I was like squandering time, and I'm dyslexic, and I was like freaking out about that. Things pile onto themselves, like, right, your own insecurities and how you are perceived and where you are going in life. And, it comes crashing in, and I was like, oh no, I can't continue like this. I'm an introvert in the kitchen. It's a way for me to connect with a large group without being in the group. I can recharge, take a minute away, be in the kitchen, or just pop out for a minute and then come back And that way I'm not overwhelmed by the interaction. You're always learning when you're in the kitchen, and I love that. It's an aspect of my personality, you know, like I like to learn and I'm a curious person. This was kind of like my anchor to a lot of self-restoration. I came to Toronto a few times to visit my mom. She moved here and I like the city. It's someplace you can raise a family. It's quiet but bustling at the same time, and it's diverse, and there's a lot going on here. And as a woman, I feel safe here at night.
My best friend, she was the principal of a school by profession. Her sister immigrated to Canada, and she told me that her sister is very happy. Her kids are very happy. They love it so much. And I was very against the idea, actually, because I felt Canada is so far away and extremely cold, and I don't like cold weather. But here I am, 23 years later.
When I arrived in Canada in 2006, in January, I'm also like excited to see snow. It's the cold, it doesn't bother me. I really love it. I still love it until today.
I came here to Canada. I was, I think, 35, 36. First Christmas we spent here, we were all four of us by ourselves, and I spent it crying, and it was very hard to hear the voice of my sisters and my mom, and it was very difficult. But you know, time heals, and I had to persevere and continue with my life and find a job.
Being an immigrant, it's that whole story of, you know, the Canadian dream, and that's really what this whole restaurant was built on. My husband started it with literally $5 in his pocket. He started here in 1996. He didn't have a lot of social capital in terms of the mainstream community. I mean, he couldn't walk into the bank and said, I need, you know, $150,000 to start like a business. As many new immigrants always resonate to the ethnic enclaves because that's where the social capital is. You know, he was able to have the vendors here on the street because they were from the same ethnic neighborhood, being able to provide supplies to him without having any credit. Many newcomers, immigrants, refugees are feeling a lot of racism, and they're feeling like, okay, this is where I can come and I can feel like I belong. He really believed that this was a place where a lot of the South Asian diaspora could actually feel the nostalgia of coming back home. I lived in Texas for almost 22 years. If you're South Asian, you always come to Gerrard Street, Little India. So I had come and just kind of feeling lost, you know, and I came here and I met him. He came with his chilies, his roasted chilies from the tandoor. And we both are immigrants from Uganda, from Africa, from the South Asian diaspora, so we had a lot in common. And what I loved about this place was the fact that he didn't colonialize it, right? It was so authentic, and you could taste that in all the flavors of the food. That really hit home for me in terms of, you know what, I feel like I'm back home.
Our mom had always wanted to open up like a little restaurant or cafe, like that was always her dream. And at the time, you know, still very young, like Mark was 21 and I was 24.
My sister and I were working at a cafe together, and I was finishing school and she had finished school for fine arts for photography. And that same time I was in summer school, our parents went to Egypt.
We would go out a lot and go out to brunch quite often. You know, everything was kind of your standard bacon and eggs, but there wasn't anything that represented our culture and like our breakfast table. And I remember thinking, wow, mom's breakfast table on the weekend destroys like any brunch menu that I've ever seen in the city. And that's kind of where the idea started to conspire. As soon as like that clicked, like Egyptian brunch, I was like, this is totally manageable. You know, like we're not restaurant people, but this is a menu that we all would be comfortable in making. If we all came together and put in our passion and skills, we could very much realistically open up a little restaurant.
My sister was like, hey, you know, like I'm not really working, you're in and out of school, we're working at this cafe, basically you're running it for this gentleman, and we're helping mom cater. Why don't we do like our own cafe? Use all mom's recipes, the three of us can come together. So we called mom in Egypt, and Monica was like, I have this rough menu, what do you think about this idea?
I was so happy, I was over the moon. If Monique and Mark were not with me, this would not have been as successful. All three of us combined make this place. Mark was kind of hesitant because he says, you know, not so many people know the Egyptian food and maybe they will not like it and maybe it's going to be different. And I said, you know, it doesn't matter if it's Egyptian, Italian, Canadian, any kind of food, if it's good and made with fresh ingredients and made with actual good labor and love, then people will connect to it and they will like it.
We took a big risk and we were basically like, this can't fail, and it gave us the motivation to really like come out with something special.
I was just putting the word out and letting everyone know I was looking for a space, and I looked online and I found this space. There was a Nepalese restaurant before. A man was sitting at the steps, kind of like looking like forlorn. You know, he's so overwhelmed by it and he wasn't ready to open it, and we kind of talked for a little, and it's like, I'm in fact looking for a space. And I spoke to my mom. I called her and I was like, on your way home today, could you just stop by and look at it for me? I think I saw a glimpse of a patio, but I'm not sure in the back. And she came and she looked at it and she's like, what are you talking about? It's an absolute mess. She's just like, there is red paint everywhere. It looks like a brothel. It's in the basement. They must have gotten the paint on sale because it's everywhere. And I'm like, Mom, the space in the back. And she's just like, you're not listening to me. And I was like, focus, woman. And she's like, yes. And so I'm like, I think I'm gonna take it. She's like, because there's a space in the back. I'm like, Canadians like to eat outside in the summertime. If there's a space in the back, we can make a go of it. And she's like, okay. So I just did it based on the conversation with the man in the door and the fact that it had a space in the back. A way to take care of myself, something that I could put a little of my knowledge into and a little of my culture. I liked it and it paid off. It's a gamble that paid off.
26 years since we've been in this beautiful, ethnic enclave of Little India. It was just busting at the seams. People would come and be okay eating in styrofoam plates because they couldn't afford the dishwasher, and they were okay sitting on the broken table. So it was really started like that hole in the wall. And what people really came for, they only cared about the food. After my husband passed away, I had to just like put food on the table, and I had to kind of take off my social work hat and run the restaurant. And it was a big boys club. It was very male dominated, but I just had to face a lot of the oppression, and the ones that left and couldn't have a woman being their boss left, right? We work as a family. I consider a lot of my staff like my brothers and sisters and family, and I feel comfortable around food and cooking. But because of the caliber, of the restaurant, I do have my cooks. I mean, it was interesting. In my household, I grew up in a very balanced in terms of matriarch, patriarch, and my father was a better cook than my mother, right? So he actually was the one who taught me how to cook.
I got opportunity to open a restaurant at the first restaurant called Sukhothai with my father-in-law on a small building in Regent Park. I always thinking, I'm gonna open this for a couple of years, I will train some of the chefs, and then I will go back to my nursing again. But the opportunity came, so we decided to open more restaurant. The restaurant started to be more recognized and people love my food. I thought I was gonna do half nursing, half cooking like I'd done in Thailand before, but it's very hard here. So I decided to leave my nursing and full-time continue as a chef. I opened Sukhothai, and then I have pie, I have skin and pie. The uptown, we opened this restaurant during the pandemic, so this is our second location. Every regions have different way of cooking it. Green curry from the south, from the central part, from the northeast or northern Thai. Different flavor. Pie is northern Thai inspiration for making all the dishes that I have. Sweet, sour, salty, and spicy of Thai food, and the balancing of the food, the freshness of the ingredients that we try to source out. If I cook something that is not true to myself, the taste won't be there, and it cannot represent like the food that I grow up and eat them. So I decided to import all the products that we cannot find here.
Just the way my mom cooks now, it's the same way my grandma used to cook when I was a little kid, and I can remember. She buys good quality product. She doesn't mess with it too much. You can look at it and you know what you're eating. She's buying a mango, she still smells it. And I'm like, Mom, it doesn't have any smell. Just Canada, I let it go. And my staff is always overwhelmed by how well the produce is that I find. And it's because I think I have a touch of that in me. Callaloo drives me crazy every year because I use the fresh callaloo. In the summertime, everybody grows it in their backyard, including my mother. And you can get it for about $2 a pound in the summertime. And in the wintertime, it's $5 a pound. And I have to schlep all over Canada to get it. I have to go here, there, everywhere, trying to get good quality enough to serve in the restaurant that doesn't have worms on it or leaves unfrozen during transport from wherever they get it in. It's usually Jamaica, but not always. Oxtail, if you call suppliers, they treat it like it's a gourmet item. The customers treat it like it's a bargain basement meat. So there's no in between. They're like, oh, it's Caribbean though, so why is it so expensive? And you're like, because I paid top dollar for it. What are you talking about? And so it's always like this, there is a disconnect between how the suppliers treat it and how the consumer treats it. So getting things from back home is not, it's seasonal. Every product has its own challenge, but I don't mind, it's part of the journey.
First of all, it's always about the freshest ingredients. So we get our vegetables and the meat, like nothing's ever frozen, right? So it just comes in, we have deliveries. We only have halal meat here, and halal means when the animal is blessed and you're not taking the animal in vain, but you're praying before the animal is slaughtered. It's cooked in these huge pots called handis. And so even the cooking vessel is really important to the taste of the food. Tikka actually means barbecue. So hence Lahore Tikka House. These metal tins are in every South Asian individual's home. You're always going to find these beautiful tins with the beautiful spices in them called masala. And so this is what flavors the oil. When it starts popping, you know that the oil is ready for sauteing the onions, which is a huge part. And then the garlic and the ginger goes in always fresh. This is like the base of South Asian cooking. And what's so beautiful about it is medicine. And so the food is really very much about healing when you're eating. So what I've tried to do is like balance the spices, and that's really what Ayurvedic medicine is all about, right? It's about balance. So I've not made it extremely like hot in terms of spice level. It can meet everyone's palate. And then if people do want to add more spice, they can.
The Canadian market has been growing and growing, but specific ingredients that are specific to certain dishes, I must import it. You will find different kinds of beans that they are not Egyptian, they don't give you the exact results. So beans I import for the fava bean dish.
Full, they're slow-cooked fava beans. Usually you mix it in with onions, tomatoes, some olive oil. In Egypt, they call it the rich man, poor man food. You have it for breakfast, you go to work, you have a nice hard day of work, and you're full till dinner time. So no matter what class you are in Egypt, like you go eat full for breakfast.
I remember the day that like the Egyptian flavor clicked, and I was like, oh yeah, it's cumin, coriander, salt, and pepper is like, you know, the majority of the flavor, with different vegetables and like different ways of treating them. The very first dish I wrote for the menu was the Cairo Classic, and that kind of just like started the love letter to Egypt.
Cairo Classic, I consider the Egyptian breakfast table in one plate. Beans, boiled egg, and one falafel and hot bread, and it comes with a salad as well. Monique is so perfect in presentation. I think she takes after my mom. My mom was the hors d'oeuvre queen in the family. She made lots of great hors d'oeuvres. So I told her, well, let's make a dish that has everything in it, and we call it chef's appetizer platter. So all the appetizers, all the salads, dips we have are in small ramekins with smaller portions. So everyone can have a taste of everything we have. And it's good because it's shareable. It's a nice big dish. Everybody loves it. Our shakshuka, we make our own tomato sauce from scratch. And when you incorporate the eggs with the tomatoes, rather than just sunny side, you scramble them. The eggs, the yolk and the whites, they get incorporated with the sauce and it gets more flavorful. And we present it also with our Egyptian salad and hot bread. It's the way my mom used to make it for us, and the way I did it for Monica and Mark, and the way I do it here.
My grandmother makes a fantastic chicken soup. She has like a whole setup. She lives in the valley in St. Thomas. And then she moved to the Hills in Stony Hill in Jamaica. It's part of her day. She's just popping into the kitchen and there's things from it that resonate, right? And my mother has found a way to do that soup in about an hour. And I use that recipe, but it comes together quite quickly once you know what you're doing. So I think it's brilliant. The funny thing is when I started the restaurant, I put out all these traditional soups on the menu. You know, some take, some didn't. And now the only soup I sell here is the chicken soup because people keep asking for it. They're like, oh, did you do your chicken soup today? And we're like, no, we have pea soup. They're like, oh, I'll come tomorrow. And then I was like, oh, forget it. All they want is a chicken soup. Something that started out all the way back there and it arcs all the way here. It's 3 generations. I'm gonna make you some Johnny cakes and ackee and saltfish and some callaloo. An easy weekend breakfast. Callaloo has a distinct smell. It's kind of nutty and it's so delicious. This is a fruit, but we treat it like a vegetable. It's the ackee. It's a national dish of Jamaica. That's a proper Jamaican breakfast done in minutes. We do a roti here, like a chicken roti, because my sign says Caribbean, not just Jamaican. So we'll just put it on because it'll be a way to service everyone from the Caribbean. And I want to see how it's like one of our top sellers. And I'm like, come on, not the jerk chicken, but the curry chicken roti. Okay. It's aromatic and it's savory and it's a little bit spicy and we can make it spicier, which most people don't want. Our curry is light. It's quite light. It goes well with white rice. I mean, what's not to love? Chicken potato bread.
So you need the right cooking utensils and appliances for the food. We use the tandoors for the naans, so it's thrown into this like almost volcano. We put a lot of the barbecue on the sizzlers, and the sizzlers have to be hot. The samosas, the pani puri, we have a lot of the street food, which you would get like as the appetizers, and the pani puri I would say is like almost like nachos in a way. We never colonialize the food for white people. It's really authentic. If you went to Pakistan, it's the same food that you would probably taste and smell and savor over there. It's comfort food from your mom's kitchen.
I remember one time when I got a call from a customer and said, you don't know how to cook pad thai. Your pad thai doesn't have ketchup. So how do you call pad thai and you don't even know how to cook it? And I said, we don't use ketchup in Thailand in our pad thai. We use tamarind, we make everything from scratch in the house here. I like to invite you to come and try it. I said, you know what, I'm so sorry, I can't do something that is not represent who I am, my culture that I come from, and the food that I want to present here. So I refuse to sell pad thai with ketchup. So that's why I said, well, let's put the title of the pad thai as Chef Nuit Pad Thai, because this is have a tamarind and the technique that I developed over time. We use a red flame stir fry to bring out very smoky flavor into the dish itself. I'm very, very grateful that now it's #1 selling in our restaurants. Khao soi, actually it's egg noodle dish with the golden curry, which is the yellow of the color of the beautiful rich, the broth that we make from coconut milk. And it comes with the crispy egg noodle topping, a little bit of the crunchy, a little bit of soft, sweet and sour from the pickled mustard green in there, fresh lamb to squeeze in to bring out very fresh aroma. I call it northern welcoming because I prepare a platter of small sampling of northern dishes that we have here in Pai. So we have lab salad with the deep fried fresh placed squash, which is called grabong, barbecue pork, which is northern style version. We marinate in the oyster sauce and a little bit of the coconut milk. We have fresh lemongrass. So all this is in one platter that you'll be able to share with your friends and family when you come in. So get to sampling small little thing of the northern Thai. We want to make our customer come in and feel like you go to a Thai restaurant in Thailand. Pai decoration is from a town. The town is a decoration more like a very festive with a lot of beautiful, colorful flag. Every year during the full moon in November, we have a festival called Loi Katong, which is offer the flowers and like floating into the river, and people will light the lantern to the sky. So you will see like thousands of lanterns float into the sky, and it just inspired me with the high ceiling that we have here. In the night when we dim a little bit, so you're sitting under the night sky in Thailand. When our guests come over, they enjoy the ambience that like you were in Thailand.
When people walk in, they see the rickshaw, it just brings them back to childhood of being on a rickshaw to go to school. Everybody knows the Taj Mahal in the South Asian diaspora. Color radiates energies, like if you look at the chakra system. So I really want to bring color out.
I love gardening, so I have fresh and real plants everywhere because it gives me the sense of being at home. So many people complimented me and they said, yes, it feels like we're entering into your living room. That's what I wanted customers to feel, that they are in my house and I'm treating them.
You are limited by the space you're in. Form follows function. I did the ceiling in the color of the water, and then the fabrics in the bright colors. Every year I paint the patio color a different color. And they get distracted by that. Sometimes I come out and I'm like, your food is ready, and they're still staring at it. Is that surrogacy? And I said, yes, it is. And they, oh man, is that apples? And oh my, Simone, you know how long I know that? And they look at it. It's a way to distract them. It is like a little collage of things that I love, and it's all about the culture and the food. My staff has this thing of saying that our customers eat Sunday dinner 7 days a week. You're gonna eat stew chicken for breakfast? Is that what we're doing now? We're eating stew chicken for breakfast? They use it as a space for like bragging rights. They bring their friends who are Jamaican, like the locals here, Greeks, Italians, French, regular Canadian people. They eat it and they're like, I really think this is good Jamaican food, but I don't know. And they bring their Jamaican friends and they sit and they watch them eat like this. And they're like, I told you it was good. You should feel ashamed that I am Canadian and I brought you to the best Caribbean place in town, right? And I've seen those conversations a lot, and I see the little way they take pride in our space and the way they just love it. It really thrills me, I love that interaction. Is so much a part of the community, and they had so much to my life.
To feed the Toronto community feels like to feed like another part of our family. The way my mom and sister make the food, the way the restaurant's decorated, it's like they make it like they're cooking for us at home. So it just feels like every time we get a table, it's like another person added to like the family dinner table.
The reason that we opened this place is to survive, but we also want to share our culture with Toronto, and it's like the most perfect city to do that in because it's so diverse. Canada can really like support all these diverse communities and kind of like this recreation of home. That gave me the confidence to realize like, yes, Toronto is a spot where you can have like specifically an Egyptian restaurant. Very quickly, we started to get a lot of public recognition, and People would come from all over GTA just to eat at the restaurant.
It's like now the word is out, like all the Egyptians like know to come here if they want that real deal, like home cooking.
We have so many of the Thai restaurants in Canada already, and every one of them make a very delicious Thai food. So then people love Thai food in general. But again, with the northern Thai food, they probably wonder what is northern Thai food. They just want to try out, and once they try it, they found like, I love this dish, and they come back for more.
In the beginning, it was very South Asian, but now, I mean, it's so universal. I've seen every different culture here, every different community, every different religion. I just want them to feel like they're getting an experience. I want them to know that when they come here, you know, it's what they would probably walk into a restaurant in India and Pakistan.
Food and memory is so interconnected, and I love to watch people eat our food for the very first time because our food is very nostalgic for Egyptian immigrants. We really try to recreate like a little Egypt, like a little sense of home for anyone who's coming from near or far.
Jamaicans are quite eyebrow in their taste. You know, they want things done a certain way. You know, they'll bitch about the price, some of them, and they'll give you hell about the ingredients, and no one can cook like their mother. And they're like, but you do a good job.
I think this is very unique, the ethnic enclave, which are completely gentrifying. I feel like the city really needs to understand that if they lose the fabric of the ethnic enclaves, Toronto will not be a destination, because a lot of people come here because of the diversity and the authenticity of the ethnic neighborhoods.
It's always good to keep the traditions alive. Dishes that reminds you of your childhood, reminds you of your parents, your grandparents. Yes, we moved so far away from Egypt, but I want to present Egypt in a good look. We had few customers who went to Egypt because of the restaurant. Food is one of the really very important ingredients of happiness in life. It's important that you do things with love and you want to please the crowd and please people who are around you. So you will create something really good.
Like I always like to remember why I'm doing what I'm doing, and that's like for my family, you know, and that's like the ultimate drive for me is my family.
Kin, the cookbook, it actually means to eat, but it's like a project of love. I like to capture the memory of cooking when I was young, growing up, and with some of the family recipe into the book, and use it as a vehicle that I can pass it on to my kids, like a time capsule. Because I love my mom, I learned to cook more, and I love my children. I want to cook for them. I love my customer. I want to be able to share. So the love and care that I put it into the book.
Home to me is my mother, and the way she does things. Music's always playing, and she's cleaning on Saturday morning, driving me and my sister crazy. And now, you know, clock ahead 20 years and we're doing the same thing. You turn on Bob Marley, you clean the house. I love it. It's wonderful. In the heart of Greek town, like something foreign. It's a country of immigrants, right? At home in a foreign place.